Hello, hello. Testing 1, 2, 3. Get that out of there. How y'all doing this afternoon? Can you hear me? I think it should be coming through. Alright. Well, welcome everybody. Thank you for joining this afternoon. Welcome to the Zorrocave. This is our first official live stream. Hoping to be able to do this every once in a while anytime I find a video that's cringe enough to warrant a response. A little, one-man EFAP. Hello there, General Kenobi. Yes, exactly. I said it's a little low. Okay, let me boost my audio a little bit. I am a bold one, that's correct. All right. Well, we're going to We're going to jump right in to covering this video here. This is from a channel called What Culture Star Wars. They seem to be very much a Watch Mojo clone, as far as I can tell. They have, I think, a bunch of different What Culture, different channels that cover different things, and this is the Star Wars one, apparently. And it is very much, I had to take a couple different takes on this video to make sure, first of all, that it wasn't AI, and I'm pretty sure it's not AI because they got a picture of the guy in the video that we'll see here in a minute, the guy who wrote it, but also to make sure it wasn't an April Fool's video. That's how insanely ridiculous this video is. And some of the takes that they do, I had to constantly keep checking and looking at the time it was posted, and halfway through watching the video I sped up 2 times through to get to the end to make sure he wasn't just trolling. But some of the stuff that he says in this video is absolutely wacky. So it's called 10 Reasons to Stop Hating Disney Star Wars, or Stop Hating the Sequel Trilogy, something like that. And the title of it piqued my interest because I was like, for all the ways that we kind of, meme on the sequel trilogy, and, there are so many things to hate about it, all the damage that it did to Star Wars as a sequel, or as a series, rather. There are, very few, but there are some things to appreciate about the sequel trilogy. Not many, not a ton, but there are some little glimpses of things that can be appreciated, right? I wouldn't say there are anything that is enough to stop, hating the sequel trilogy, stop seeing it as bad. But there are some things worthy of praise. The problem is that those things basically make you sad because of the lost potential of what it could be. And so it's not really something that you can look at and appreciate for itself. You look at it in the larger context and you go, yeah, that was very hard for me to admit. You look at it in the larger context and you go, oh, this would have been great in a great movie. One of the things that we're going to talk about is the travesty of all of the practical effects that were created for this movie that are truly awesome, but that you never think about when you think about amazing practical effects, because it's in crap movies that you don't think about. So, yeah. So without further ado, we're gonna jump in. Let me make sure my audio for this is coming through okay. I'm gonna play it and then I'm gonna wait and see if you guys think that it's coming through okay.
From unquestionably awesome force powers and weapons to some of the most compelling characters ever to strut onto this.
Is that loud enough? Too quiet? I should probably turn off our chill music, because they've got some obnoxious music in this video. Paramount Productions, do you agree with the people who say it's not canon because George didn't make it? No, not at all. In fact, I don't think that is true at all. I think George made one really great Star Wars movie. I think he oversaw and helped with another fantastic Star Wars movie. and he has great ideas. Video is way too quiet. Okay. Boost that up. Let's try that again.
Star Wars. From unquestionably awesome force powers and weapons to some of the most compelling characters ever to strut onto the Star Wars stage. It's time to stop hating on Disney's sequel trilogy, and the following entries will explain.
How about that? Is that better?
Explain precisely why. I'm Gareth here from What Culture Star.
Let's see if that
Wars, and here are
better.
10 reasons.
Yeah, there's the title of the video there. Anyway, George, I think George's ideas are fantastic. Obviously, he created Star Wars, but that doesn't necessarily mean that he is the best person to be in charge of it all the time. I think that the prequels proved that, and I think that the more input he had on actual creative decisions beyond just the storycraft and world creation and all of that stuff, the worse the movies got over time, obviously with the exception of the first one. So I don't think that if George didn't make it, it's not canon, because Andor exists and George didn't have, as far as I can tell, any involvement with that. And, as far as I remember, the one show that he did, the one Star Wars show that he did show up on set for was Mandalorian, and we know how far off a cliff that one fell. Let's see. May have 10 reasons to stop hating. I have 100 reasons to hate. Yeah, exactly. He's always had issues with writing and directing. Nothing new. Yeah. So, anyway, let's jump into this video because I'm technically on lunch break. So, it's not a long one. It's only 11 minutes, but you know how these things go. Well, it's never just 11 minutes. So, he's got a long intro here, but I'm kind of going to glaze over that a little bit because he's basically kind of giving his thesis statement, then he'll go into the points later. And so you'll hear some outlandish things. We're not going to jump on it just yet. We'll hop into it as soon as he starts with his top 10. So we'll let this play for a second.
To stop hating the Star Wars sequel trilogy. From unquestionably awesome force powers and weapons to some of the most compelling characters ever to strut onto the Star Wars stage. It's time to stop hating on Disney's sequel trilogy, and the following entries will explain precisely why. I'm Gareth here from What Culture Star Wars, and here are
Okay, I said I wasn't going to interrupt him, but the video essayist voice, especially, I'm not sure if it's his accent, because, his accent is fine, but the way that he, enunciates certain things and, especially when he trails off at the end of certain sentences, that's what threw me off when I was watching this at first. It almost sounds like he's being sarcastic. And if you look at his channel, at this channel, you'll see a bunch of videos that are actually against the sequel trilogy, like 10 things the trilogy got wrong, or 10 ways they ruined this character, whatever. So that's part of what made me think that this was one of those troll videos. I've made a couple of those myself. That's just kind of, the intonation of his voice. But as far as I can tell, this is completely genuine. There's no trickery going on here. So all of these, as far as I can tell, are his actual thoughts and actual takes. So let's jump in.
Stage. It's time to stop hating on Disney's sequel trilogy, and the following entries will explain precisely why. I'm Gareth here from What Culture Star Wars, and here are 10 reasons to stop hating the Star Wars sequel trilogy. Number 10, the dialogue was better than the prequels.
Okay, so just kicking things off right away. The dialogue was better than the prequels. Now, before any arguments are going to be made for this, whether this is true or not, this is a bad point to bring up. The quality of the dialogue really has no bearing on whether the story is good or not, right? Because dialogue is just a vehicle, just like visuals, just like music, just like acting. It's a vehicle to convey your story. It's how you serve it. You can have really well-written dialogue and it feel natural and, characters sound like real human beings, but the story is still trash and the stories still make no sense. And so while I agree that better written dialogue is a good thing to strive for, it's not going to fix your story. The original Star Wars movie, like A New Hope, the dialogue for that movie is not anything spectacular, right? It's not, Emmy award-winning script. People meme about Luke, I want to go to Tashi Station, buy some power convert. Like, it's not a fantastically tight script. George has, he made some mistakes that the EU writers had to kind of, mess with to make sense, like 0.5 past hyperspace or the parsecs thing that Han mentions. There's some goofiness in the script for that movie, but the movie is so good and the story is so good that it overshines kind of the not super strong script. And then you look at Empire Strikes Back, where the script is fantastic and the story is excellent, and they both kind of meld together to make an even better movie. But I wouldn't say that dialogue by itself can be a point of oh, that movie has great dialogue, therefore it's a good movie. That's one element that you want to strive for, but it's not going to fix your story. And the way I'm going to kind of talk about this as we break down, kind of go through this video is, movies and stories. I'm using this analogy of a burger, right? You can have a really nice bun, the delivery device for the story. We'll call that the dialogue. The bun can be really, really good, but if the burger patty inside is nasty and disgusting, who cares what the bun is if the meat of the story is disgusting? And on the flip side, if you have a mediocre bun, that's fine. Like, all it does is keep your hands from getting greasy while you are eating like the most amazing burger you've ever tasted. Well, you're not going to think about the bun. You're thinking about the burger, right? You're going to be, chowing down on it and enjoying the burger, and you're not thinking about the bun. But then if you have an amazing bun and an amazing burger, obviously that's better than the alternative. But a good bun, in this case, good dialogue, is not going to make or break a burger, the burger that's in the middle. You can have a great bun, but a burger. Does that make sense? And so, yeah, and the sequel's dialogue, like you said, the Beck in 9500, the dialogue is not great. It is very, very pedestrian, very normal. It's like, yeah, these characters are saying things that are going, there's nothing that stands out in the dialogue. There's no I am your father moment. Like, there's no memorable moments for the dialogue in the sequels. And especially when JJ writes dialogue, it's very snappy, it's very quick paced. A lot of bombastic language. Smooth brains think this is good writing. Like, oh, they're so quippy, they're so, snappy back and forth. At the beginning with, I call him Old Sally, Max von Lars' character, you cannot deny the truth that is your family. And then Kylo just, you're so right. And he kills him. It's like, what is that? What are you talking about? You cannot deny the truth that is your family. It's like, okay, your family lineage we know from the meta, like after seeing the movie, and Kylo agrees with him that he can't deny his lineage. Like, it doesn't, that's not quality dialogue. It's snappy, like, oh, burn, you got him, but what's actually happening in the scene is Kylo just killed the guy that has information about the thing he's looking for. And so even if you like that piece of dialogue, your burger is like, your bun is already sopping wet from a nasty, disgusting, greasy burger that is already showing itself to be not quality, because the decision Kylo makes is a bad decision. He's killing the guy that, wants his, has information for the thing that he wants. Same thing, like Luke Skywalker was a myth. It's like, ooh, that scene, it's so mysterious, Luke Skywalker, blah, blah, blah. It's like, it's been less than 10 years since Luke left the picture. Like, he wouldn't be a myth. It'd be like, talking about Obama as if he was a myth. Like, it's ridiculous. A good question for another time is another example of that. Han mentioning the trash compactor, like, ooh, like you referenced the thing, but it's just there's nothing special. And as cringe maybe as some of the dialogue in the prequels is, and I can concede that there's a lot of bad dialogue in the prequels, for every, Vader yelling, no, there's 10 Finns yelling Rey, Rey, it's not that much significantly better to make it one of your points to not hate it. And when I was watching this, I was like, this is not a great sign for the quality of this video. And you get things like, somehow Palpatine's alive. Oh, that shot was 1 in a million. I am all the Sith. I am all the Jedi. Like, this is not good dialogue. And Ryan Johnson's stuff in The Last Jedi is even worse. Hope is like the sun, or the spark that will light the flame that is will burn the whatever. Maz talking about having an encounter with the Master Codebreaker. Clunky, all the Canto Bite stuff, not fighting what we hate, saving what we love, let the past die. These are memorable ... memorable lines, but memorable for the wrong reasons. Whereas, excuse me, we'll talk about this in a second, but a lot of the lines from the prequels, while it's bad, it has meme value, and meme value is very valuable in my opinion, because there's nothing memeable about the sequels. Nobody likes them ironically. They either love them because they're contrarians or they recognize that they're bad. The meme value of the prequels is amazing. So anyway, rant over. I don't know if we're gonna get this done in time, but we'll get as much done as we can. I'll try to rant less.
It's no secret that viewers and even the actors themselves struggle to connect with the cold and often bizarre dialogue George Lucas threw into his scripts when creating episodes 1 to 3. How the likes of Mark Hamill and co. even had the mind behind the galaxy far, far away change and cut out various lines during the making of the original trilogy too. Jump forward.
Okay, quick note on that little thing there where it's like, oh, some of the lines were changed while they were shooting the movie. That's how movies are made. That's how every movie is made. You come across something in the script. I mean, I do that when I make my videos. I'm reading something that I've redrafted 100 times. I typed it out. I've gone through it, and then I'm sitting down to record it, and I'm reading, and I go, oh man, that doesn't sound natural. Let me change it this way to kind of change. And they do that in movies all the time. It's not indicative of the previous movies' scripts being necessarily bad, that they had to change lines while they were shooting it. That's just normal filmmaking process. I'm sure that happened in the sequel trilogy as well. For him to bring up this point as like, ooh, look, Lucas is bad at writing scripts. I'm not saying he's good at writing scripts. I'm just saying, pointing that out as a point of contention against the older movies. That's just a normal movie making process. It's like, yeah, calm down.
To The Force Awakens and beyond, and at least the various new faces and returning icons all sounded like actual human beings this time around.
Wow, congratulations. You achieved the bare minimum. Your characters sound like characters. They sound like human beings. Bravo. Gold star. You're right. I don't hate the sequels anymore. All the human beings sound like human beings. Like, of course, this isn't a reason not to hate the prequels. The naturalness of the dialogue is so much less important than the content of the dialogue. The bun versus the burger, right? Like, if you have a mediocre bun, that's not worthy of praise. It's like, okay, great. You didn't get a moldy bun. Good job.
In fact, in The Last Jedi alone, some of the finest exchanges in the franchise's history briefly washed away those painful memories of sandy conversations.
No, TLJ is not a good example. It's not a good example of good dialogue. We already went over some of the references. He's about to point out this scene as being a great moment for dialogue, but they barely even speak in the scene. All she says is, do you like I did something different with my hair? And they kind of smile at each other. This is not dialogue. This is not a dialogue scene. This is a fan service scene, but it's not even... Okay, hold on. I'm going to let it play. let's listen.
With Luke and Leia's long-awaited reunion giving fans the gift of one more charming Carrie Fisher quip about her change of hairstyle. A gorgeous line written by the late legend herself. It wasn't all perfect.
Okay, Luke wasn't even in that scene. Luke was over on Occ 2. He didn't care enough to actually be there. How can you call that a meaningful scene when he wasn't actually there? Whatever.
Fact, of course. Never forget
listen
one
what he
more
says.
charming Carrie Fisher quip.
So he says the dialogue is so much better than the prequels, and then he says, well, it wasn't all perfect, of course. And it's like, man, the dialogue is so good now, except for the cringe. What kind of point are you making? That's a useless point. Absolutely useless. Top 10 or number 10 pick. Like, there are other things, like I've talked about. Like I said, there are other things to praise with these movies, as much as it pains me to say, and I have to swallow the vomit that came up in my mouth from saying it. There are things to praise in these movies. Let's see if he gets to any of them.
About her change of hairstyle. A gorgeous line written by the late legend herself. It wasn't all perfect, of course. Never forget that they fly now, but the...
Okay, so we'll see at the end. I had my suspicions leading up to this, but the person that edited this is not the same person who wrote this, and apparently they didn't talk, because obviously They Fly Now is not referencing Leia flying. It's referencing, the stormtroopers, which, if, he's correctly pointing out that that's cringe dialogue, but that was written by the same guy who wrote the rest of it. Again, it's useless to say the dialogue is great except what it isn't. It's like, you're not telling me anything.
Sequels certainly recorded a lot more dialogue hits than the trilogy of misses that came before them. Do you have a favorite line in Star Wars history? Well, let me know about it in the comments section right down below.
Okay. Now this is frustrating. I don't like how they do this engagement bait in videos, especially like these Watch Mojo type ones, where they're like, do you have a favorite line from the sequels? Drop it down below. It's like, you're not going to read that comment. You just want the engagement. You just want the engagement bait. Like, be honest. Like, hey, we're trying to boost our video in the algorithm. A like and a comment. Like, that I'm way more in favor of. But to just say, oh, do you have a favorite? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll check it out and read it. Maybe I'll include it in the... It's like, dude, stop it. It's cringe. And I get that this is probably a corporate thing and they have to insert those, but yeah. Now that being said, if you guys like this video, go ahead and like it. I'm just kidding.
Number 9, more
hold on.
change of hairstyle. A gorgeous line written by the late legend herself. It wasn't all perfect, of course. Never forget that they fly now, but the sequels certainly recorded a lot more dialogue hits than the trilogy of misses that came before them.
The sequels had a lot more dialogue hits than the trilogy of misses that went before them. Excuse me? The sequels had no dialogue hits. Name a single line of dialogue from the sequels that is remembered for any reason other than being cringe. Any meaningful thing other than being cringe. Because I can think of some that are cringe. Let the past die. Kill it if you have to. You've seen the map. Hope is like the sun. Crystal critters. Like, it's all cringe. We have them tied on the end of a string, General Hux. There's nothing that isn't pure cringe. Whereas, again, like I said, prequel dialogue, he called it a trilogy of misses, but there are genuinely high highs. Like I said, meme value, so high with those. And it's not just because, like, oh, we grew up with the movies and we want the memes. Like, hello there, That's a classic meme. Mind tricks don't work on Toydarians, ah? Lawyer. Another happy landing. Now this is pod racing, you know? Classic memes. Not just the men, but the women and the children too. You know what? The classic, I don't like sand. I'm just a simple man making my way through the galaxy. You know? A fine addition to my collection. You turned her against me. Unlimited power. It's outrageous. It's unfair. It's like classic memes that are truly, like, they're memes, but they come from, you know, impactful moments in the movies. And then, on top of that, you do actually have a few, not many, but a few genuinely strong moments in the prequels. You've got scenes between Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon, where they're talking about Anakin, they're talking about the Jedi Order. Those are actually scenes that kind of grip you. They kind of, you know, they're riveting. Some of the scenes between Anakin and Obi-Wan in Attack of the Clones, where when they say goodbye to each other, when for the last time before, you know, Obi-Wan goes off to Utapau and Anakin goes to, before he becomes Darth Vader. You know, the Darth Plagueis scene, as much as there are memes in there, like, that's actually a really interesting scene where we get some information about Palpatine's backstory. And then, like, obviously, you know, there's the end after the final battle where he's like, you were my brother, Anakin, I loved you. Like, that moment hits hard. Revenge of the Sith is not a great movie, but that moment hits hard. I'm not a prequel defender. I, you know, agree that they are generally poorly written and poorly executed. And there's a lot of missed potential there too. But compared to the sequels, those movies are so much more alive than the sequels are. Like, what meaningful conversations are had in the sequels? Like, yeah, it's frustrating, but we'll continue.
Do you have a favorite line in Star Wars history? Well, let me know about it in the comments section down below.
Right down below.
Number 9, they were never going to live up to ridiculous expectations.
Oh boy. Okay, expectations. Never gonna live up to expectations. Don't hate the sequels. They were never gonna live up to the ridiculous expectations. Does that sound like someone who thinks that the movies are good? If he's saying, don't hate them because they're not as good as we wanted them to be, but they were never going to be as good as we wanted them to be, so you're admitting that they're bad. What is this even supposed to mean? Like, the conceit of this video is, here's 10 reasons not to hate the sequels. And your second point is, don't hate it, it was never going to be good anyway. Like, excuse me? In what universe do we give a pass to movies for not living up to expectations? Not living up to expectations is bad. Just ask my parents. Like, what arguments could he possibly make to support this? Let's see.
After those widely adored original trilogy beginnings, it's safe to say that the prequel series of Star Wars entries largely weren't what the majority of folks were either expecting or wanting heading into episodes 1 to 3.
Okay, that's fair. From what I know of the time, this was not what most people wanted to see. Okay, so he's made... Hey, 1 point to What Culture Star Wars. Gareth. 1 point to Gareth.
Yeah. So, news of the sequel era of flicks not only picking up the story 3 decades on from Return of the Jedi, but reintroducing the likes of Luke, Leia, Han, and the gang in a new tale being told, understandably left many fans feeling hopeful about the saga's future.
True. We were very excited to see what was going to happen in this new trilogy.
The Force Awakens actually did a decent job of living up to the hype too.
Oh. Wait a second. TFA lived up to the expectations. Wait, so don't hate the sequels. They were never going to be good. They were never going to live up to the ridiculous expectations. Except TFA did live up to those expectations. Like, how does this guy have a job as a writer? How can you say, don't hate these movies. They were never going to be good. Your expectations were too high, but also the first one did live up to expectations. And also, no, TFA did not live up to expectations. TFA is incredibly subversive. Ooh, the scary bad man word. But it is. It's very subversive. There's no Luke. Han is a miserable old loser. Han and Leia are divorced. We, based on the trailers, which set expectations, thought we were getting a Force-sensitive stormtrooper defector. Oh, no, never mind. Oh, Han's dead. Like, not only did it not live up to expectations, it actively worked to subvert those expectations. And then it failed spectacularly as a series to pay off those subversions in a meaningful way. I'm working on a video right now. There's a little heads up for you guys about subversion. And one of the big things about subversion is you don't just subvert for subversion's sake. You subvert unto a specific end. You're saying to your audience, hey, I know it looked like we were going this way, but hey, we're going this way. It's going to be better this way. That's the only reason you subvert, if it's going to be better, if it's going to be a better payoff than the one that was expecting. Because otherwise, you're doing a disservice to your story by not just doing the expected outcome. If the subverted outcome is not better than the expected outcome, and the only reason you're doing it is to get a rise out of your audience, that's bad writing. It's not artistic. It's not, he's playing with the meta. It's just bad writing. And for a lot of the criticisms that TFA gets away with, because it was the first one in the story and they were setting it up, it was still subversive unto nothing. If this movie, you take A New Hope by itself, it is a complete story, beginning, middle, and end. Even though the Empire isn't completely defeated, it still pays off all of its setups. TFA did a bunch of setups, right, and then didn't do any payoffs, and it tries to put its hands up and go, oh, it wasn't my job to pay those off. But you gotta pay some of them off. Anyway. Yeah. So, TFA, none of the sequels live up to expectations, except for TFA, which did, but they were never going to be good anyway. So you should like them.
Combining the overall vibe of those OG features.
TFA wishes it had the vibe of the OG movies. It tries to, but it is way more JJ than Star Wars. Force Awakens feels like that Star Trek movie, which doesn't feel like Star Trek. Doesn't feel like Star Trek. It feels like a J.J. Abrams movie. Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol. Wait, that was Brad Bird. Mission Impossible 3. That's a Brad Bird or a J.J. Abrams movie. J.J. doesn't make movies in the franchises he's hired to write movies in. He makes J.J. movies that are themed, that cosplay as that franchise. So TFA does not have the vibe of the original movies.
With some spectacular visuals and fresh new characters, even if the tale was largely a retread of A New Hope.
If you want to know how this is not a retread of A New Hope, you can go check out my case study on Cause and Effect, where I broke down the opening of both of those. There's my little plug there for that.
The episodes that followed weren't as universally saluted, however, with every bold twist.
Remember this assumption he just made. Universally saluted, he called The Force Awakens. Universally saluted.
Or hiss of nostalgia being praised, even if the tale was largely a retread of A New Hope. The episodes that followed weren't as universally saluted, however, with every bold twist or hiss of nostalgia being praised by one fan and utterly slammed by another. Trying to please every single soul within a fanbase as massive and diverse as Star Wars from start to finish was always going to be an impossible task.
So, Force Awakens was universally saluted. But trying to please every single soul within a fan base as big as Star Wars, that was going to be an impossible task. So was TFA universally saluted? Got everybody on board? Ready for a new franchise? Or is getting everybody on board an impossible task? Okay. Let's assume that is the case. That getting everybody on and pleasing everybody with a sequel, from his point of view, that's the way that it works. Okay. You can't live up to expectations for everybody. You're always going to disappoint somebody. Here's some examples I pulled together of movies with incredibly high expectations that absolutely delivered on those expectations. Let's see. The Empire Strikes Back. Oh, yeah, that's a good one. Let's see. Return of the King. Okay, that one had huge expectations, and it delivered on those. The Avengers, the first time in modern era where multiple different heroes and were coming together. You had a bunch of them, you had to fit them together with making them all stand out while also work together. That's big expectations for what that's supposed to be, especially for people coming from the comics who have examples of that already. The expectations were super high for the Avengers. Same thing for Civil War. It's like, this isn't even an Avengers film, and you got to do all that. Infinity War, Spider-Man No Way Home. You know, that movie has some flaws, but 3 Spider-Men in the same movie, like, are you going to please all 3 of those fan bases? The Tobey fans, the Andrew fans, and the Tom Holland fans? I think they pretty much knocked that out of the park. Toy Story 3. Massive expectations for what they were going to do with the next movie in the Toy Story franchise. And they absolutely knocked it out of the park. Not Toy Story 4. That movie's terrible. But Toy Story 3, they nailed it. Top Gun Maverick. I'm not sure what expectations were going into that, but whatever expectations there were, they were able to bring it back and, you know, do good things with it. A Titanic movie. This one is not a sequel, obviously, because, you know, there was only one. But for such a dramatic and impactful, pun intended, cultural event to be put on the big screen, you got to handle that carefully. Otherwise, you're going to alienate a bunch of people who might have even still been alive when that happened in the movie. And then, of course, the most impactful culturally example of this is Shrek 2. You know, how do you top Shrek? The expectations going into Shrek 2? I don't think any franchise has ever, no studio has ever dealt with so many expectations as DreamWorks did going into Shrek 2. And they absolutely knocked it out of the park. Now, on top of all of that, trying to defend the sequels as, oh, well, what did you expect? They couldn't possibly have made every single soul who watched this movie happy. That's unrealistic. That's a nonsense straw man argument anyway. Of course, nobody expects that every single movie will cater to every single person that watches it. No one is even making that argument. They don't make the argument that the sequels don't play well enough to bring in the lowest common denominator. If anything, these movies play too heavily on the lowest common denominator. And that's the most consistent praise that these movies get. Oh, the visuals, the music, the acting are so good. That's the definition of the lowest common denominator. It's stuff that everybody can look at the screen and recognize. Oh, pretty colors, nice music, good acting. Right? It's the burger on the burger commercial. That's all plastic. But oh man, that looks like a really good burger. But it's hollow. There's nothing in it. Anyway.
Especially when slammed by another. Trying to please every single soul within a fan base as massive and diverse as Star Wars from start to finish was always going to be an impossible task, especially when it comes to the sacred Skywalker saga.
Man, why did he say it like that? The sacred Skywalker saga. Like the sarcasm. You look at this dude's whole channel, it's all about Star Wars. The Skywalker saga is the core of Star Wars. It tells the story, or at least it did tell the story, of Anakin and Luke Skywalker. Why is he deriding the idea that, oh, wow, the next 3 movies in the Skywalker saga, oh, it has to be the Skywalker saga now. I don't get the sarcasm there. Maybe you guys can help me out with that.
And with that in mind, the fact both those who longed for the nostalgic days of the OG trilogy and the folks who just wanted to see the series be dragged down a fresh new path were both sporadically given moments to get excited about is actually a minor miracle that isn't celebrated enough.
Okay, I'm gonna play that again, just in case you didn't hear it.
Is going to be an impossible task, especially when it comes to the sacred Skywalker saga. And with that in mind, the fact both those who longed for the nostalgic days of the OG trilogy
Both those who longed for the nostalgic days of the OG trilogy,
and the folks who just wanted to see the series be dragged down a fresh new path,
and those who wanted to see the series be dragged down a new path,
were both sporadically given moments to get excited about,
were both sporadically given moments to be excited about,
is actually a minor miracle that
is a minor miracle
isn't celebrated enough.
that isn't celebrated enough. What absolute malarkey. What cod swallow. Total horseradish. All this sentence is saying is that the fans of the old got patronized with nostalgia bait and key jangling that the movies want you to clap at, all the while the story is, and I quote, being dragged in a new direction. Yeah, dragged indeed. This is not a miracle, and it definitely isn't worthy of celebration. It's cheap and it's lazy, and oh my god, is it not a reason to stop hating these movies? In fact, that's actively a reason to hate them even harder. He's saying it's a minor miracle that the movies nostalgia baited and jangled keys in front of one fan base, all the while slowly stripping away the life and taking it into a new direction. That's a minor miracle. Oh boy. We're not going to get through this in time.
Number 8, it introduced some undoubtedly cool powers, weapons, and ships.
Nope. And this is the second time he's used hyperbolic adjectives to describe this stuff. At the beginning he said unquestionably, and now he says undoubtedly cool powers, weapons, and ships. Let's, real quick, I'm just going to run through all the amazing, undoubtedly, unquestionably cool new force powers that we got. Holding the laser bolt in midair, right? Force mind rape. Force mind rape Uno reverse card from Rey being untrained. Leia's force bubble and flying, which surely he's not gonna bring that up as a cool, undoubtedly cool force power. The force skyping, the force healing, which again, untrained, force projection across the freaking galaxy, force teleportation of objects, pulling a ship out of the sky and igniting lightning, the mega lightning from Palpatine at the end of the movie, introducing Dyad, ooh, and then all the Jedi talking to Rey through the Force, something that Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon apparently had to train for years and years and years and years. Yeah, C-3PO. Oh, this is such a drag. Yeah, exactly. This is absolute madness. I'm gonna make a video about the Force, similar to the lightsaber one. It's gonna be. Let's see what he has to say about these undoubtedly cool powers, weapons, and ships.
It simply would not be Star Wars without some fascinating Force abilities.
I beg to differ, but we don't have time to get into that.
And the menacing Kylo Ren set the tone early in The Force Awakens by stopping a damn blaster bullet in midair before holding it there for an impressive amount of time.
Why did he do that? Why did he waste time and energy focusing on that, holding it in midair the whole time he was talking to Poe? Wow, he's just so powerful.
Leia soaring through space after being fired out of a cruiser, literally in The Force Awakens, by stopping a damn blaster bullet in midair before holding it there for an impressive amount of
Undoubtedly
time.
cool.
Leia soaring through space after being fired out of a cruiser, Luke projecting himself halfway
Unquestionably
across the bloody galaxy, and even watching Palpatine force drain the Dyad all sit as unquestionably cool uses of Force power when revisiting the trilogy. And episodes 7 to 9 seriously brought it in both the badass weapon and spaceship categories.
Clown shows, both of them. Yes, we are live. We are live. Hello there.
2. Ren's command shuttle was a beautifully designed menace of the skies. The rusty ski speeder helped create the gorgeous visual of Crate's red surface bursting up from the ground as the resistance sped towards the First Order. And the supremacy was a thing of terrifying beauty too. That epic crossguard lightsaber used by a fallen Ben Solo became instantly iconic. And the advanced melee weapons seen being used by the elite Praetorian Guard were also at the center of arguably the trilogy's finest combat sequence. Simply put, there's a lot to love about the sequel's arsenal.
So much to love about the arsenal of the sequels. Right, guys? Oh my gosh. Okay, number 7. We gotta speed through this. No one really stood a chance without a proper 3-film plan in place. Oh boy, let's see what he says.
No one really stood a chance without a proper 3-film plan in place. Now, having multiple directors add their own flavor to the mix isn't anything new in the galaxy far, far away, with the OG trilogy seeing 3 different figures steering the ship. But Irving Kershner and Richard Marquand's work was still being overseen by George Lucas back then, with the original Star Wars director making sure the overall story was heading towards the conclusion he wanted. Not having a similar sort of plan heading into the sequels set this new trilogy and Rian Johnson and J.J. Abrams up for failure pretty early on, with Abrams himself eventually admitting he learned the hard way that having a plan is the most critical thing when it comes to telling this sort of story. So the next time you ball up your fist and curse the many frustrating retcons and ways the sequels feel like a painfully disjointed mess, just remember that the lads tasked with helming them were put in a pretty unenviable position of having to deal with narrative decisions they didn't choose before proceeding to make it up as they went along.
Aww. Aww, poor JJ. Poor Ryan. Aw, man. You know what, guys? I feel bad. I feel bad that these guys went in there without a plan and then just had to scrap it together and make it work. A real run and gun operation here. Yeah, Ace, this is supposed to praise the sequels. Can you believe it? This is 10 reasons why you should stop hating the Star Wars sequels. And the one we just listened to was, don't be so hard on JJ and Ryan. They didn't have a plan going in to see the movies, so don't hate the movies, because they didn't have a plan. This was the moment that I had to stop and question whether or not this was a genuine... Like, I went and looked at the date, the upload date, to make sure it wasn't April 1st. I couldn't believe that this was a genuine point being made. Trying to cover for Ryan and JJ making awful movies by saying there wasn't a plan, that's not a win for anyone. It paints everyone involved as incredibly incompetent. It paints Disney as incompetent, Lucasfilm, for not having a plan in the first place. It criticizes JJ for not setting the stage for even trying to have a plan. Like, yo, if you had given me no plan and said, hey, go make Star Wars 7, I'd have a plan in like 10 minutes. They had 3 years between when they bought the series and when they released The Force Awakens. 3 years. No plan. Ryan, it dunks on Ryan for not having a plan when he had even longer. Again, if you had given me The Force Awakens and said, go make a sequel to this, I'd have a plan the next day. And then it dunks on Disney again for bringing JJ back when he didn't have a plan to begin with. But also, this is obviously not true. JJ wasn't told, we have no plan, make a movie, dance monkey, here's a bunch of money. He was involved from the start. And he had enough influence to create a plan and establish it. He had a plan. And for Ryan was involved very early on, and he actually had the script for The Last Jedi finished while The Force Awakens was still being shot. So there was a plan, and everybody was on board with it. There were at least 2 movies planned prior to The Force Awakens even releasing. So this narrative of, they didn't have a plan, and, what did you expect to happen, is just ridiculous. It set them up for failure. They set themselves up for failure, to be clear. And to call it... Let me roll it back.
By George Lucas back then, with the original Star Wars director making sure the overall story was heading towards the conclusion he wanted. Not having a similar sort of plan heading into the sequels set this new trilogy and Rian Johnson and J.J. Abrams up for failure pretty early on, with Abrams himself eventually admitting he learned the hard way that having a plan is the most critical thing when it comes to telling this sort of story. So the next time you ball up your fist and curse the many frustrating retcons and ways the sequels feel like a painfully disjointed mess, just remember that the lads tasked with helming them were put in a pretty unenviable position.
An unenviable position, he says. Do you think that the position of helming a new Star Wars movie, remember, put yourself back in 2012, before, not now. Obviously that would be unenviable now. But back then, unenviable. I'm sure their positions as Episode 7 and Episode 8 writer and director were maybe the most enviable positions in all of Hollywood. Like, let me give you a thought experiment. The studio says, you have to make a movie. Like, let's set some ground rules. You have to make a movie set 30 years after Return of the Jedi. You need a new female protagonist and one or two other young protagonists. They all need to be young. Can't focus on just the legacy guys. You got to have a defecting stormtrooper, and you got to have the big three in there somewhere. Han, Luke, and Leia. All right, go write something. Do you know how many stories we could tell within those guidelines? What sort of plans we could make? We could plan a trilogy in about 5 minutes. Not just one trilogy, but multiple trilogies. That's ridiculous.
Of having to deal with narrative decisions they didn't choose before proceeding to make it up as they went along. Number 6, practical effects strike back. It must be said that many of the digital effects...
Alright, we touched on this a little bit at the beginning. Practical effects. Let's jump into it.
Effects unleashed in episode...
Actually, I'm running low on time, so we're not going to jump into it too much. I'm going to let this play. But, like I said, back to our burger analogy. Special effects, whether they're practical or computer generated, are just toppings on the burger. They can help improve the presentation, make it look nicer, but they have no impact on the quality of the meat, of the story itself. Practical is not inherently better than digital. It's all about how you use them. You can have a movie with really good special effects, and all the work that goes into those is definitely worth a thumbs up. Like, hey, that's really cool. But if the end product is crap, if the story is crap, if the burger that those nice toppings are on top of is crap, then all you're left feeling is sad for the special effects artists who spent so much time and effort creating something that's part of a story that's bad and that no one will think about as soon as they leave the theater. Like, it's just bad. Like, practical effects are not going to save your movie. EFAP just did an episode on The Fly. Those special effects are very much so worthy of praise, but they just go to enhance the story that's being told. If the story wasn't good, all those practical effects would be completely wasted. And that's how it is for the special effects in the sequels. Like, I can give a thumbs up to BB-8 being real, and a thumbs up to little Babu Frick, you know, doing his thing, little Peepoo Frick. But I can give those thumbs up, but it's not really worth anything. And that's not mentioning the fact that there's a ton of CGI in the sequels as well. Anytime you see the Millennium Falcon, that is full CGI. So you're not getting that many props for using props. It's just a disappointing thing. Let me just...
Episodes 1 to 3 have aged terrifically well in the years since, with the opening space battle in Revenge of the Sith still being a marvelous watch to this day. But there's no denying the fact that many longed for a return to the days when practical effects were relied on more than digital wizardry after taking in the prequels. Though it is worth noting that those films did still boast their fair share of practical moments too. The minds behind the sequel trilogy appear to agree that it was time for all things practical to take center stage once again, however, and this renewed focus focus on making tangible alien beings and a world that felt more organic than the artificial CGI stuff prequels led to some hugely underappreciated results. Everything from Unkar Plutt and Maz Kanata being brilliantly brought to life via practical methods at various points, to the using of the real-life Skellig Michael as Arcto, regularly made the sequels a true feast for the eyes. Number 5, The Last Jedi took some compelling narrative risks.
The Last Jedi took some compelling narrative risks, huh? Such a nonsense take. You don't get rewarded for taking risks if the risks don't pay off. Just taking risks doesn't mean that a movie should be loved. Joker 2 took risks, and look at what a clown show that was. Pun intended. I mean, some of the best movies ever made are narratively very straightforward and not at all what you would call risky, but they're still some of the best movies ever. You don't get props just for being risky. It's all about the execution. So again, not a point of praise for the movies just because they took risks.
At the time of The Last Jedi's release, you were either in the camp of Abrams' diehards who cursed that wretched Ryan for binning off the mystery surrounding which Star Wars family Rey belonged to, and suddenly killing off Big Bad Snoke.
Straw man. Look, everybody, it's a straw man. I discussed this in my cause and effect breakdown. Making Rey a nobody, like they did in The Last Jedi, that is a markedly better outcome for the story than her being a somebody, because of the way that movie is set up. If she is if she's Princess Palpatine, then old Sally being on the planet, the old ally, and Poe meeting there is a coincidence the size of the galaxy, and it completely breaks the story. Because he doesn't know she's there, she doesn't know he's there. It's a complete coincidence that they live within rolling distance of each other. So, saying that people are mad because Rey wasn't part of a Star Wars family is just a complete straw man. Because making her a nobody is actually better for the story. Now, the fact that people expected her to be a somebody was JJ's fault because he set that up and made that mystery box enticing to open. But people weren't mad that she wasn't part of a Star Wars family. More mad that it was teased and then taken away. But that's not what people are mad at. And the fact that Snoke died, yeah, people are mad at that because it's just a bad decision to kill off your main villain in movie 2. Then you got to figure out for movie 3.
Or you were one of the folks who absolutely adored the bold creative swings Johnson.
Oh, bold creative swings. You either hated the movie because you were in Camp JJ, you were mad that Rey wasn't part of a Star Wars family, or you appreciated the bold creative swings that JJ took. Oh, he's such an auteur. It's like, get out of here. You're whatever the opposite of poisoning the well is. I guess you're poisoning the well. But you're showing your bias there. Again, not against bias, but you're not just saying either you were a fan of one or a fan of the other. You're saying, oh, either you were a little baby boy whining about oh, he ruined JJ's vision, or you were a big brain, like the bold creative swings that JJ took. It's so dumb.
Made throughout. As the years have gone by, though, it's become increasingly more common to hear of folks subscribing to that latter opinion.
To the latter opinion, he says. Over the years, it's been more common to hear them say the latter. Is that your guys' experience? That people nowadays are more in favor of Ryan taking bold swings and looking at The Last Jedi favorably? Or is it the other way around? I'm pretty sure it's the other way around.
With many gradually coming to appreciate the compelling risks Johnson took, and the exciting path he was trying to nudge the saga down heading into what was once Colin Trevorrow's finale. In isolation, The Last Jedi sits as one of the most visually stunning, beautifully acted, and fresh pieces of Star Wars.
Visually stunning, beautifully acted, and fresh. That is all anybody can praise about this movie. Oh, it's so bold. Oh, it looks so good. That's it. They got nothing else.
Wars action of all time, and its presence in the sequel trilogy alone is enough of a reason to justify returning to this inconsistent portion of the Skywalker saga in the years to come.
Its presence in the saga is worth. You should watch it if you're watching back through the movies, because it's there. Its presence makes it worth rewatching. Got to redraft, man. Redraft your script.
Number 4, absolutely spectacular action sequences.
Nope. The action is somewhere between mid and awful, and again, this is all just burger toppings. Not a reason to stop hating the movies. The action scenes are fine. If they're great, if the toppings on your burger are great, that's nice. If they're bad, pick them off and ignore them. Either way, it doesn't matter, because you're there for the meat. If the meat is good, then you can ignore the bad toppings. If the meat is bad, then it doesn't matter how good the toppings are, how good the action sequences are. I guess you can throw away the bad burger and just eat the toppings, but you're not getting sustenance. You're not getting meat there.
The sequels as a whole routinely left minds absolutely blown thanks to the
absolutely blown
beautiful chaos unfolding.
Oh, beautiful chaos. Look at that beautiful chaos.
On screen, for all of the questionable narrative choices and
questionable narrative choices? What do you mean questionable narrative choices? I thought there were bold creative swings worthy of celebration. Minor miracles, I heard.
Handling of certain characters. Every single one of the flicks contained at least a few genuinely awe-inspiring moments of gorgeously filmed action. The Force Awakens threw the Millennium Falcon back into the mix with a gripping clash with some First Order TIE fighters above Jakku, and also possessed a captivating forest lightsaber battle between Kylo Ren, Finn, and Rey. The Last Jedi boasted that awesome Ren-Rey team-up as the two collided with the elite Praetorian Guard. Not to mention a Holdo maneuver which blasted both many a cruiser.
No, actually, Kylo should have absolutely dominated those fights. And to call them riveting? He called them riveting. I don't know about that. It's distracting. It takes your mind off of the nonsense story by giving you some nonsense action to look at. I wouldn't call it riveting. You're not holding your pee to go, to watch Rey and Kylo versus the Praetorians. Like, you'll pause that. You'll go to handle business, or you'll walk out of the theater and not worry about missing that. The Emperor's throne room, that was riveting. With Luke and Vader. Like, you're holding your pee for that one. Oh, but that's right. Yeah, don't have any expectations. How could anybody live up to those movies? What were you expecting? It was going to be bad all along.
And our little brains to pieces. Even the Rise of Skywalker contained a thrilling lightsaber clash amongst the waves on the moon of Kethbir. The trilogy may not be known for its consistency.
He looked that up. There's no way he just knew offhand what the name of that Endor moon was.
See, when it comes to the overall tone, or
maybe he did. I don't want to dunk on him too bad, but Kethbir. Like, who cares enough about the sequels to know that? Just curious.
Story being told across the 3 films. But the Disney chapter of the Skywalker saga did at least consistently produce some of the most riveting and inventive action the franchise has ever seen. Number 3, John Williams smashed it with Rey's theme.
Look at that. More burger toppings. More burger toppings. Oh, the music was so good. Yummy, yummy, yummy music. Yeah, it's John Williams, of course. But he's not even complimenting the music as a whole. He's specifically going with Rey's theme. Can any of you hum Rey's theme? Anybody? I'll give you time to think of it. What's Rey's theme? Yeah. I listened to it. It's a nice theme. It's John Williams, but it's not mind-blowing. It's not the Imperial March. And again, this whole point, hey, you shouldn't hate the sequels. John Williams did nice music for it. You serious? It's a J. Jonah Jameson meme. Are you serious? Your point number 3. Assuming this is our top 3 reasons not to hate the sequels. Number 3 is John Williams smashed it with Ray's theme. Oh boy. Burger toppings. It's all burger toppings.
Having the mighty John Williams back in the composer chair
she had
for
a
the
theme?
sequels
Exactly.
was a bit of a no-brainer, really. And it was that core that ultimately set the stage for yet another instantly iconic theme to be born, in the form of the magical Ray's theme. It's that terrifically built tune, one that makes you feel like you can single-handedly take down a Star Destroyer.
Okay, this is just a funny thing. If you listen to her theme, it's very light and airy. Like the da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da-da, something like that. It's very, like, chill, relaxed, happy. Yeah, that makes me feel like I could take on a whole Star Destroyer.
That pretty much acts as
Burger
the musical
toppings.
core of the sequels, and serves as a reminder,
Musical
as if you
core.
really needed one, of exactly why Williams ranks as arguably the greatest film composer of all time.
Okay, I need a tangent. I need to bunny trail again. He said, another reason to say that John Williams is arguably the best film composer of all time. I cannot tell you how much I hate the word arguably. I know it sounds silly. Arguably is, you can make whatever outrageous, nonsense, hyperbolic claim you want, but if you put arguably in front of it, you're good? What? It's arguable. I said arguably. No, what? I said arguably. There's an argument that could be made. But you throw that in, and you can say whatever you want. Oh, the Raisin Bran Crunch is arguably the best breakfast cereal in the world. Well, is it? Do you actually think it's the best? Or are you just trying to pay Raisin Bran cereal a compliment? Because you can just say Raisin Bran Crunch is really, really good. In fact, I think it's one of the best. But to be like, arguably. Raisin Bran Crunch can arguably cure cancer. What? Well, there's an argument to be made. Listen, this guy I knew, he had cancer, and then he ate Raisin Bran Crunch, and he was fine. So arguably, we don't know for sure. It's one of those things, the little nitpicks. I hear it. One of those earworms. I don't think that's the right way to use that phrase. But one of those things that it just jumps out at me. Arguably.
While the sequels may not have contained quite as many instant hit themes as the original or prequel trilogy, Ray's
say that
theme
again.
undoubtedly still ranks as yet another
Undoubtedly.
piece of musical magic Williams managed to sprinkle into the galaxy far, far away.
He managed to sprinkle it in. He wasn't hired to do it. He snuck it in. He snuck it in there, guys.
Simply put, even the sequel's biggest haters can't help but get lost in Williams' masterful work. Number 2, Kylo Ren is one of the great Star Wars characters.
This is our number 2 point. Kylo Ren is one of the great Star Wars... No, he isn't. One of the great Star Wars characters? This is like when the Beatles were asked, is Ringo Starr the best drummer in the world? And they were like, no, he's not even the best drummer in the Beatles. Kylo Ren's not even the best character in the sequel trilogy. He has a good performance, and that's all he's going to praise in this section, spoiler alert. But Kylo is not the best character. He's a petulant child whose motivations are so unclear that you don't even know why he's there or why he does what he does. Poe Dameron is a better character than Kylo Ren. He's simple. He's one-dimensional. He is... The opening title card calls him a daring pilot, the most daring pilot in the Resistance, and he is that adjective and that noun, most daring pilot. But he's consistent. He's consistent with that. Kylo Ren, you have no idea. Why? Okay, why is he hunting for Luke? Oh, he wants revenge for him thinking about killing him. Oh, okay. I guess I can see you want revenge for that. Okay, but why is he doing it with the First Order? Why is... I can see you join the Knights of Ren. Maybe there's some revenge there. They gave him some power. But why is he with the First Order? Resources. Okay, we can go with resources for the revenge. Okay. Oh, no, but he actually wants power. He wants to rule. He wants to rule he wants to be the supreme leader. But I thought he turned bad because of Uncle Murder. I didn't think he wanted to rule the galaxy. Oh, and okay, so now Luke is dead. So there's no more revenge. So what's... So he wants to find Palpatine. Why does he want to find Palpatine? He wants more power? But then Rey heals him, and then he projects out a memory of Han. It's not even really Han. It's Kylo's own memory. So Kylo forgives himself for killing his dad. Good for him. Okay, and then he becomes a good guy, and then he goes and helps Rey for some reason. And then he gives his life to heal her, even though he's never used force healing before. And then he dies. So that's nice. He dies. And that's good that he dies from a writing perspective, because remember, he was complicit in the destruction of the Hosnian system. So trillions and trillions of deaths are on his hands. So it's a good thing he turned good and then died, because otherwise he'd have to answer for that before a New Republic court. Oh wait, he destroyed the New Republic. Before a resistance, maybe? Man, Jason Solo. What we lost with Jason Solo. Let's see what his points are for why Kylo is one of the great Star Wars characters ever.
The fact the intriguing Kylo Ren / Ben Solo was being brought to life by the magnetic Adam Driver meant that a memorable new figure in the Star Wars sphere was all but guaranteed. And sure enough, Driver absolutely nailed the role across the...
Okay, so far, all we have complimented is the performance. The magnetic Adam Driver. Oh, it was a guarantee he was going to be a memorable character because of the performance. What's his character? Let's see.
Solo was being brought to life by the magnetic Adam Driver meant that a memorable new figure in the Star Wars sphere was all but guaranteed. And sure enough, Driver absolutely nailed the role across the entirety of the series, always offering a captivating glimmer of hope and light on the back of or during Ren's many explosions of frustration and rage. Ren's arc is possibly the most satisfying of the entire sequels.
He said it's the most satisfying arc. That might be true by default. But that doesn't mean it's a satisfying arc. It's like, oh, that was the most satisfying electrocution I've ever had. Like, okay, maybe. But do you want to do it again? I don't think so.
With the petulant son of Han and Leia going from disenchanted fallen Jedi to a person who gives their life to save Rey's over the course of the episodes. The sequels most definitely fumbled the likes of Finn, Poe Dameron, and a number of other new faces. With the
criticisms. They fumbled the writing of these characters. That sounds like a reason to not like the sequels. Most of the characters get fumbled, but you shouldn't hate the movies because this one guy had a really good performance in him. I don't really know about his character, but his performance, oh my gosh. Magnetic Adam Driver.
Eventual wasting of brilliant actors like John Boyega and Oscar Isaac, pissing off just about everyone who initially connected with their characters during The Force Awakens. But at least Driver was given the platform to produce a performance that shined even in the trilogy's darkest hours.
He was given a platform to give a performance. He didn't mention a single thing about his character. And this was his number 2 reason. So far, we've gone through 9 reasons not to hate the movies, and each one of them has given me more reason to hate it. Surely if you're going to make a top 10 thing, you got to have at least one good point. I mean, like I said, there are things to praise in this movie. I think the decision to make Han a loser and run away from his family, traipsing around trying to be a scoundrel like in the good old days, I don't think that was a good decision. But I think the moments that he shared with Carrie, with Leia, when they saw each other again, when they talked about Ben, there was some real potential there. And I think that if that had gotten explored more, let's say Han survives going to Starkiller, And we get a full scene of them sitting down talking about how they lost their son. Like, I think there could be something there. And I think we got a little glimmer of that with the little moments that we had. So there's my one reason not to completely hate everything. Let's see what his number one reason is. Let's see.
Number 1, some of the nostalgia really lands. By the time the driver was given the platform to produce a performance that shined even in the trilogy's darkest hours. Number 1, some of the nostalgia really lands. This is bro's number one point. Some of the nostalgia really lands. Not all of it. He doesn't even think all of it lands. He thinks you shouldn't hate the movies because some of them really land. Nostalgia really lands. By the time the rise of...
I was under the impression, I was reliably informed, that it was a minor miracle that they were able to pander to the older fans with nostalgia bait. A minor miracle, I heard. What do you mean some of it lands? That would imply that some of it didn't land, and that would be a criticism.
Skywalker blasted off into hyperspace. The Skywalker saga had turned into little more than a greatest hits compilation, with a few new artists playing covers of your old favorite.
That sounds like a criticism. Does it not?
Before Palpatine and the Death Star somehow returned, Lando was largely wasted,
He's memeing.
and Han Solo stopping by for one last appearance despite Harrison Ford finally getting his murderous wish though. Both of
What is he talking about?
The rise of Skywalker blasted off into hyperspace. The Skywalker saga had turned into little more than a greatest hits compilation, with a few new artists playing covers of your old favorites.
A greatest hits compilation. So he's saying it just became a meme at the end. And that is... some of that, not all of it, some of that is worthy of praise.
Before Palpatine and the Death Star somehow returned, Lando was largely wasted.
Lando was completely... he shouldn't have even been in the movie.
And Han Solo stopping by for one last
Nope, that is not Han Solo. That is Kylo Ren's memory of Han Solo.
appearance despite Harrison Ford finally getting his murderous wish though. Both The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi prove that nostalgia could be a brilliantly effective tool when used properly. Ford's presence as Rey's mentor before being cut down by his own flesh.
That's just sad. It's just sad.
Though, both The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi prove that nostalgia could be a...
Okay, the dice. Real quick, everyone pretends, oh, the dice are so... he gave her the dice. Most people, myself included, never even noticed the dice in the original movies until they were made a focal point in Solo. And you know why they were made a focal point in Solo? They were given to Han by his girlfriend Kira. So Luke is giving Leia her late ex-husband's ex-girlfriend's going away present. How meaningful. Are you kidding me?
Brilliantly effective tool when used properly. Ford's presence as Rey's mentor before being cut down by his own flesh and blood in Episode 7 gave the trilogy some serious emotional weight.
Serious emotional manipulation. Can't even manipulate my mouth to say manipulation right. Gosh.
Leia acting as the wise and charming Resistance leader was a perfect use of the late Carrie Fisher.
It was the only thing you could do with her. She didn't have any other role. I mean, she didn't really have a role with what she did. She could have just as easily been Admiral Akbar. Oh wait, he's dead. That's right.
Luke Skywalker's journey from bitter and broken master to the Resistance's projected savior.
He just said the Resistance's projected savior, unironically.
Leia acting as the wise and charming Resistance leader was a perfect use of the
Leia
late
hugging
Carrie
Rey
Fisher.
instead of Chewie.
Luke Skywalker's
Oh my gosh.
journey from bitter and broken master to the Resistance's projected savior felt like an unexpected yet satisfying farewell. And Frank Oz briefly popping back up as Master Yoda was enough to force even the most soulless audience member to crack a smile. For all of
A smile. A smile.
Felt like an unexpected yet satisfying farewell.
That was not a satisfying farewell. You Weasley little liar. You're a Weasley little liar, dude. No one was satisfied by that farewell to Luke. Alone, depressed on an island. Oh, and now we're going to talk about Yoda. Ooh, yummy cameos.
And Frank Oz briefly popping back up as Master Yoda was enough to force even the most soulless audience member to crack his smile.
Cameos.
For all of the later nostalgic beats and choices that felt like you were being force-fed sweets you used to eat as a child.
Oh, nostalgia.
Never forget that
Yummy,
the
yummy,
sequel
yummy.
still regularly delivered the odd nod to the past that didn't make you want to throw up in your seat.
Oh,
And that's our
toppings.
list. Know of any other reasons to stop hating Star Wars sequel trilogy?
You know what's funny? He's doing his little plug, his little corporate. Do you know of any other reasons to love the Star Wars? I bet you if we went to the comments of this video, we would find at least 10 reasons, genuine reasons that you could go, oh yeah, they did that. Oh yeah, that was an idea. They had a thought there. But this guy, who gets paid by this company, What Culture, to write these videos, couldn't come up with one reason, one actual reason to stop hating Star Wars. It's so cheap and corporate. Just like this video.
Well, let
And
us know
more-
about them
more
in the comment
engagement
section
bait.
right down below.
There
And
it
don't
is.
forget to like, share, and click on that subscribe button while you're down there. Also, if you like this sort of
I can't really see it because of the cropping on my screen there, but Gareth Morgan is the writer and presenter. So the guy who's talking is the guy who wrote it. The editor is somebody else, Mike Pike, which that actually does sound like an AI guy.
stuff, then please head on over to whatculture.com and find some more fantastic Star Wars articles,
Ooh,
just
the
like the
thumbs
one
up.
this video you're watching
Oh,
right now is
fantastic
based on.
articles.
I've been Gareth from What Culture Star Wars. May the Force be with you. Thanks for watching this video, and
May
hopefully
the
we'll
Force
see
be
you
with
soon.
you too,
Bye-bye.
Gareth.
From unquestionably
All right.
awesome.
Well, that was absolutely abysmal. What did you guys think about that? That was fun, right? Bring back some of our ambiance there. Yeah, these people will be replaced by AI. Absolutely. Yeah, none of the reasons were actual reasons. Mark Hamill is such a tool bag, I don't even feel bad about his portrayal in The Last Jedi anymore. He deserves it. I don't think anybody deserves treatment like that. But, yeah. That was a struggle to get... Yeah, you're telling me. That was completely a struggle to get through. I'm going to watch The Phantom Menace. I might join you in that, Ace. I have it completely legally accessible on my machine. I think I lost my mind a little bit. This is like Cosmonaut all over again. Cosmonaut has his own opinions. This guy feels like corporate. Now, Cosmo's opinions are fickle like the wind. They change with the tides. But I do believe he genuinely believes them at the moment that he's reading it. Maybe not by the time he posts the video, maybe not by the time he's making the next video. But I think while he's reading his scripts, I think he actually does believe that. The important thing is we had fun. I think we had fun too. I had fun. Hope you guys had fun. What a terrible video. The copium was strong without. Yep. The ability to speak does not make you intelligent. Indeed. Yeah, Phantom Menace is a fantastic chill watch. The prequels were hated too. Ryan Johnson. Yeah. Yeah. What do you think is a better movie? Attack of the Clones, which is considered to be the worst prequel movie, or The Force Awakens, which is the best sequel movie? Well, Attack of the Clones, obviously. Attack of the Clones is better for a couple of different reasons. number one, it's pretty much where that trilogy of movies should have started. As much as I enjoy watching Phantom Menace for the memes, and the pod racing scene is pretty awesome. Yes, the negotiations were short. The story should have started for the prequels in Attack of the Clones, with Anakin already being up, because older, not up. Because if we had started there, we could have had a whole movie of the actual Clone Wars in between Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith. We could have developed Anakin and Obi-Wan's relationship more, better than they do in the TV show, for sure. The potential is there in Attack of the Clones, for sure. I think not all of the decisions that were made in that movie are great, for sure. The romance subplot is better than the entire sequel trilogy, 100%. People meme on the romance there, but they actually have conversations and things in common. And at that point, at least up until he kills the Tuskens, Anakin hadn't murdered trillions of people the way that Kylo did. But we did get a Clone Wars movie. Yeah, we did. Yeah, we did. We certainly did. I don't know. A live-action Clone Wars movie. I think it could have been cool. Oh, Clone Wars 2003. Javier, for sure. For sure, 2003. I am currently in the middle of working on a 6-part series dissecting the Clone Wars 2008. And if you want to watch part 1, it's already up on the channel a couple months ago. Part 2 I'm working on now, and it just kind of gets worse. People tell me it gets better the more the story goes on, but yeah, it's not great. Yeah. Well, anyway, thank you guys for stopping in. I appreciate hanging out. I'm going to do more of these if you guys like that, if you guys would want to tune in for more of them. I'm thinking about doing it maybe once a month. But Mrs. Zorro's actually about to have a baby, so I might be AWOL for a little bit, helping out with that. But also, I'll be on paternity leave, so maybe I can do more streams like this with a little newborn, little tiny baby Zorro hanging out with us. So anyway, you guys have a fantastic rest of the day. Thank you for stopping by the Zorrocave. And as always, what did he say at the end of his thing? May the Force be with you. And end broadcast. Thank you for the congrats.